All right, guys. Happy Tuesday and welcome to another episode of Breakfast with Mark and Jen.
Let's do it.
Let's get into our breakfast real quick.
All right.
I'm having oatmeal. I like my oatmeal blended a lot of times. Mm-hmm. And so it's blended with coconut milk and vanilla, cinnamon, agave. And I topped it with bananas and walnuts. You're having bagel and cream cheese with some hot coffee. Mm-hmm. I'll probably get coffee or tea when we're done. And that's what that. So
pretty simple today.
Pretty simple today. We went on a breakfast date yesterday, so that's where it was a little more complicated because we threw down. Mm-hmm. But we want to get into today's topic because we want to talk about how do I know the person I'm dating is the one? Now, what's funny is at first I was like, oh, Mark, let's do, how do I know my spouse is the one? He's like, your spouse? Because if you're already married and you're not sure that they're the one, that's a whole different...
You got other problems.
It's a whole different episode.
Big problems.
We can't cover that today. So it's how do I know if the person I'm dating is the one? Mm-hmm. Because I think a lot of people don't want to waste a lot of time and date someone for 4 or 5 years and find out in year 5 that, wait a minute, I actually can't do life with this person. Mm-hmm. So from your vantage point, Mark, how does somebody determine, like some general rules for whether it's a male looking at a female or a female looking at a male? What's the general rule for how one determines if the person they're dating is the one? Right.
So you have to, I guess, wrap your mind and head around the concept of the one, right? Because the conventional idea out there is, okay, there's one person for me in this entire world, and I'm looking for that one, that soulmate that I'm going to be able to do life with forever.
Right.
And that's a lot of pressure.
Yeah.
That is a lot of pressure.
Out of all the billions of people in the world.
Oh, my goodness.
Because your soulmate doesn't have to be right in your own country.
Yeah. And now that the world is totally different, right? Because the internet, social media has opened everything up. Now a person is bombarded by so many more choices when they actually didn't have that many choices back in the day. Because I was only exposed to a certain amount of people.
That's true.
Now I'm exposed to so many people, and you're like, well, they don't even have to be American. They don't even have to be black. They don't even have to be from here. And
it could be good and bad, right?
Right.
Because it opens up the possibilities, which isn't always a bad thing, but then it can be, as you're saying, a frustrating thing.
It could be very frustrating, and it can be nerve-wracking, and it can be totally overwhelming. So what you have to do, we believe that God guides every step of our lives. And he guides something so important and vital as your spouse and who you're going to choose.
Right.
And if you're walking with God, then he'll tell you yes or no. The question is, are you going to listen? Are you going to listen? Because he's not necessarily going to give you so many details and say, this is why that's not that person is not the one, or list all of their flaws, or tell you what's going to happen 10 years from now, and that's why you shouldn't marry them. But he'll give you enough indicators as to why this person is the one or this person is not the one. Okay? So the first thing you need to do is you need to consult God.
Right. Yeah.
To determine whether or not this person is the one.
Right.
And you need to start looking at this person from the standpoint of, what is your overall gut feeling?
Which is often, if you're a believer, really is your discernment.
Right. And even and if you're a believer, it's your discernment. It's what the Spirit of God is telling you. And if you're not a believer, it's what your intuition and your gut is telling you about the natural feelings and nuances and vibes that person gives you. If you're uncomfortable in certain situations with that person, they're going to give you vibes that make you feel so much discomfort. It makes you unsure. It makes you unstable.
Yeah.
It makes you concerned, or it makes you fearful. Some of the natural things that God has given us are indicators, before we even over spiritualize things, are indicators whether or not you can live with that person and build with that person, and this person is the one. Like, do you feel safe enough with this person?
Right.
And can that person be the one? And when we say the one, it means the one that you're actually choosing to be the one.
Okay.
The one that you're actually saying, okay, that's the one I want to pick to build my life with. They're not going to have a sign on their forehead that says, I'm the one.
But really it's ultimately God choosing for you, though.
It is God choosing for you, but you're saying, hey, I'm looking at that person and I believe that not only God has given them to me and that's his choice for me, but I'm willing to make the choice myself and say, yes, I'm going to leap into that person being the one. So if we're thinking about how we, our story and how long we dated, very early on, we dated for 4 years, long distance.
Yep.
Very early on, we prayed and we got an inner sense. There was no big booming voice for me. I don't know about you.
No.
There was no big booming voice that said, Jen is the one.
Right.
But I got a sense that this girl is the one and I need to lean into that. And that sense is very difficult to articulate and describe.
Yeah. I do think, though, that the average person watching this can relate, though. Because, like I said, if you're a believer, it's your discernment. You know, it's like that prompting. Like you said, God does not just come down in these big booming voices and tell us things, but you get a thought, you get an impression, you get a feeling. Or like you said, the world would say vibes or intuition, gut feeling. So step one then, Mark, is to consult God about whether or not the person you're dating is the one, right? And then I guess you would say step two is also just observing certain things. How do you feel when you're around them? Do you feel afraid? Do you feel threatened? Do you feel bullied? Do you feel intimidated? Because I don't see any basis for believing that God would say, this guy is the one for you, but every time you're around him, you feel nervous. You're walking on eggshells. You feel scared. You feel less than. Same thing on the reverse. If you're a guy, every time you're around this girl, you feel less than. You feel like you don't you don't amount to anything. You feel like your self-esteem as a man is constantly deflated by her. I don't see any basis for that to be the person that God has for you. So step one is consult God. Step two, seeing just how are you around that person? How do you interact? What's another step?
Another step is, do they make you better?
Yes, that's a good one.
They make you better?
Right.
Too many times we're
like
settling.
They say cheddar makes it better, but that's for food.
Listen, here you go with food.
Cheddar does make a lot of
food.
Cheddar does make a lot of things better.
But hold on.
Cheddar makes it better.
But hold on. Hold on. Like, you're always relating it to cheese, something like cheese.
Cheese?
Yeah. You know why?
I don't relate a lot of things to cheese.
You know why I say that?
That's weird.
Because it's not weird. You know why I say that? It's because you put cheese on everything.
I don't have cheese on this oatmeal. Boom, pow, and
you like, it needs a dash of cheese. It needs a sprinkle of cheese.
This oatmeal has
it needs helping of cheese.
bananas and walnuts.
You know,
point blank, and the period.
I just wanted to point that out about cheese specifically.
Well, there's no cheese in these oats.
All right. Do they make you better? Because if that's the one for you, they will absolutely make you better. And they will make you better in such a strong way that it would be so difficult and so hard for you to let them go. Your future and the betterment of your life and where you're attempting to grow into and what you want to be and where you see yourself. You can't see yourself without that person because they make your life that much better. They enhance who you are and where you're going. That is
good.
Absolutely the one.
That's good.
That is absolutely the one, because God will never put you in a situation where the one is going to make you worse. The one is flawed.
Right.
The one has problems. The one, you even argue with the one.
Right.
But at the end of the day, at the root of the relationship is that this is healthy and it's going to make me better. One of the big factors in how I knew you were the one is that the life I was living before. No, we ain't going to go there.
The life he was living before.
What is the deal today?
I don't know. He told me to show my personality on camera, so this is what y'all get.
And you really like this, though.
Exactly. It's going to make for better views.
The life I was living before was in such stark contrast
Myrie Clay.
to who you were and who I knew I really was, that I had to lean into it. And I said, Mark, if you don't do life with this girl by yourself, you're going to miss out on your destiny, your purpose, because you're not strong enough to do it by yourself. You need somebody that can help you unlock who God has called you to be. So I said, I have a decision to make. Am I going to stay doing this by myself? Am I going to continue to fall into ditches and holes and difficulties? Or am I going to lean into the person that is making me better?
And what I like about this, Mark, is that the person who makes you better doesn't just make you better as it relates to your walk with God. I think that's part of it. But they should make you better just in life in general. So for me, one of the major ways where you've made me better is just in day-to-day handling myself, because and by that, what I mean is being more street smart, right? I grew up very sheltered in probably an overprotective environment. And when we first got married, it was a literal struggle for me. Like, I would get anxiety just to catch the bus and then the train from New Jersey to Manhattan, for example. It would make me nervous to leave my night classes when I was in grad school and get on the bus, the school bus, and they drop you off, at the little stops, and you walk to your car. That was nerve-wracking for me. And it's not that things don't happen in the world, but at the same time, you didn't allow me to have so much anxiety to where it consumed me and I couldn't just do everyday things, right? And I would say that helped make me better, because you were never the spouse to say, well, since that makes you nervous, I'll just do it for you. You were like, I ain't got
Even
the
when
time.
we were dating, I was like, do you have your license?
No, I didn't. I didn't.
And I'm like, that's not going to work.
Yeah. I was getting rides from friends, rides from parents.
Getting chauffeured. Use the right term.
Well, no, my friends didn't chauffeur me. I was in the passenger seat. That's not chauffeured.
Oh, that's
if I'm
chauffeured.
chauffeured, I'm sitting in the back.
No, it's chauffeured.
Hear me. When I'm chauffeured, I'm sitting in the back.
It's chauffeured.
With my shades on.
You're being chauffeured.
And my pearls.
You know why?
And I had hoops on, so I wasn't being chauffeured.
You know why you're being chauffeured?
No.
Because you're saying, without saying it, I don't need to get a license because there's always somebody that's going to take me where I need to go. That's the definition of being chauffeured. I don't need to ever think about driving anywhere because I know there's a guy with a car outside that's going to take me wherever I need to go.
I have a license and I actually still would like to get driven most places, but that's just not my life right now. I don't love driving. But we're getting off track. So, because we've given people 3 steps so far.
Right.
So, let's just stay on task.
All right. But we were talking about you getting better. You
made me better because you helped literally see me through the anxiety that I would get just to do everyday things.
Right.
So, all I was saying is that your person that is the one for you should draw you closer to God. Because I believe if they're for you and you find that you're praying less, you're reading your Bible less, you're going to church less, you're obeying God less, you need to look at that, because God will not send you somebody that pulls you away from him.
Right.
But I was saying that in addition to that, practically speaking, they should also push you to be better as a person. So if they push you to say, yeah, let's pray more, let's worship more, but let's go to so many prayer meetings that you're failing your exams, because instead of studying, you're at all night prayer.
Right.
Like, get some balance.
Right.
So you should be going to prayer services if your church has prayer services. But then if they're saying to you, pray to the point where, hey, you don't have to study, because guess what? All things work together. Well, that's not going to work for your good, because you didn't study.
Yeah.
So they should lead you closer to God, but make you better also just in a practical, everyday sense.
I'm telling you, it's not hard to know whether or not the person is the one. And you hear that all the time. Like, I knew she was the one after 1 week. I knew she was the one when I first saw her. I knew she was the one after one phone conversation.
Yeah.
Why? Because you can know very quickly whether or not that person is going to take you higher in life or whether they're going to bring you down lower in life.
You're right, Mark, because my parents are friends with a couple. By the way, my parents are in their 70s. This couple's also in their 70s. They know a couple right now that's in their 70s. Within 3 months of meeting each other, they dated, got engaged, got married in the early 70s, and they're still happily married.
Yeah.
They're not even like the couple that you see and you look and you're like, man, they're married on paper, but they seem miserable. They're happily married. And in 3 months, they did all of those things. Now, I know there was a different time. I know their church environment was different, but not everybody in their time within 3 months met, dated, got engaged, and got married. But they're still together. So it lets you know, Mark, what you're saying, that if you're tuned, I believe if you're tuned into God, it shouldn't take 5 and 4 years. We dated for 4 years because we were in college. We were not old enough when we first met. We needed to get our degree. We needed to be able to get jobs. But to me, how are you dating someone for 4 years and then by the time you get to the 4.5 mark, you finally figure out, oh, actually, this isn't the person for me?
And you know why? Somebody can date a person for years and years and years and struggle with whether or not they're the one is because you know they're not the one.
Oh, wow.
But you're holding on to and attempting to make them become the one.
Wow.
Because you think the process to finding the one is making that person into the one. That's not how it works.
So you're saying these people that are dating for all these years and they've got careers, they're old enough to get married, if they're still dating at that point, no engagement, no wedding in sight, you're saying they actually know that that's not the one.
They know it's not the one, but they're trying to convince themselves that they can make them into the one.
Wow, that's good.
That's never how it works.
And then I guess when it doesn't happen, that's when the breakup comes.
That's never how it works. Because they're the one if they're the one.
Wow.
Even
good.
with their flaws and all, even with their struggles and all, they're the one if they're the one. Because when you meet someone, let's say you meet someone and y'all are like 20 years old. You're very young in life. They're the one not because they have all of what you think you're going to need at 40. They're the one because they're the one. And their package is the one. So you're not trying to make them into being the one. You know that this person at their core, they're the right one for you to do life with. And I think that people try and manufacture the one.
Wow, that's good.
Instead of just embracing the one.
That's really good, yeah.
And you can get caught up in this web, this whirlwind of dating people that you know are not the one because you're trying to manufacture the one as if you can go to some kind of warehouse and put in the code and the dimensions and the physique and the eye color and the personality and come out with the one. That's not how it works. You understand that when you meet the one, oh man, this person is who God has for me.
Because when we dated for 4 years, we weren't still trying to figure out if we were the one. As I just said, we had circumstances that caused us to not get married right away because we were young. We hadn't finished college.
Right.
We didn't have jobs to be able to support each other. And so, yes, I totally agree, Mark. And I think that should clear some confusion up for some people who are saying, man, I'm dating for 4 and 5 years and he still hasn't given me a ring. What Mark is saying is, sis, he has already determined that you are not the one.
Yeah, talk to the ladies. Like these ladies that are out here hanging on, holding on to a man that they know is not the one, but they put so much time into it that they think that the ring is going to automatically make the man the one.
No.
And if you're slow to commit, from the standpoint of you can commit, you should commit, and you can take that next step, and you're slow to do it as a couple, it means that one of you or both of you knows that the other one is not the one.
Yeah.
They're just not saying it.
Or the ladies who do get the ring, but then you've been engaged for 2 years, 3 years. Because I actually can highly respect the couples who say, I don't have the funds to get my dream wedding, but I'm going to go to the courthouse. I just think there's no excuse for being engaged 3, 4, 5 years.
Yeah.
All in the name of, oh, we're waiting until we have enough money.
Yeah.
You know what my mom told me, and it was excellent advice? My mom said to me, the reality is, for the average person, you will never have enough money to get married. You will never have enough money, technically, for a wedding. All you do is, when God shows you who the one is for you, he's brought that person into your life, you plan a wedding according to your budget, whether that is a courthouse wedding, whether that's a backyard wedding, whether that's $1 million wedding. And then she said, you live where you can afford to live.
Right.
You buy what you can afford to buy. But my mom taught me early on as a young woman, there is never an excuse for a man to have you hanging out here 4 and 5 years with either no ring at all or a ring, but no wedding.
Right.
Because she was like, do not listen to a guy who says to you, I would marry you, but I don't have enough money. Because there are guys out here who are solid, who are strong, who are committed to God. They don't have a lot of money, but when that right girl comes along and they know she's right, they make it work.
Right. And that is exactly right. And it says something about a man that won't commit. Number one, it's saying that he doesn't really believe that you're the one he can make that commitment to. Or number two, he's struggling with other issues. And even if he believes you're the one, he can't take that next step. Is that a man you want to marry?
Well,
Is that a man you want to jump that deep into life with?
Yeah.
Because if he's struggling to make that kind of commitment and put a ring on it, well, he gonna struggle in other areas when it comes to leading his house. So why would you want to marry that?
Yeah.
You're better off single. Like people think that marriage, you've won the race. What race have you won? What trophy have you won?
Right.
Getting married is a calling, as you said a couple videos ago. It means that I need this person in my life to fulfill what God wants me to fulfill.
Yep.
And you can do that single.
Yeah, not
You could
every,
do that single.
That's probably a good place for us to put here that our ministry is to marriages, but it's reality that not everyone is going to get married. That's just not everybody's
You're not
calling.
less of a person. It just means that for you, you don't need somebody else to fulfill your destiny.
All right.
And that is okay.
Yeah.
So stop being out here, going through people just trying to find the one, and maybe you're the one for you.
That's good. That might be a good place to put a period on it for today.
Yeah.
But I do want to recap because we've given you 3 ways to know whether or not the person you're dating is the one.
Yep.
The first thing we said is absolutely consult God. We just will never be out here giving you advice that doesn't include God. You have to include God in the process.
Right.
And number 2, we said, what does your gut tell you?
Right.
How do you feel around them? How are you made to feel around them? And then we said, number 3 is,
Do they make you better?
do they make you better?
Yeah.
Not just spiritually, but do they make you better as a person overall?
Right.
And if you can answer yes to those 3 questions, Well, then I think you may have found the one.
You may have found the one. You may have found the one. And there's so much more we could say.
Yeah.
Let me make one more point.
Okay.
Is that when you're thinking about, is this person the one? Try not to think about, are they the one for you 20 years from now, 50 years from now, 100 years from now? Try and think about, are they the one for you? Because it's too much pressure.
Because you don't know what's coming down the road.
You're like, is this man going to get a master's? Is he going to get a doctorate? Is he going to be an entrepreneur and start a... You don't know those things.
All right.
And you don't know where you're even going to live. It's very hard to predict the future. But if you can safely say, this is a person I can build with, and that person may be the one, just take the pressure off.
Okay. I like that.
All right?
Yep. I heard someone once say, don't marry the person you can live with. Marry the person you can't live without.
Oh, that's so good.
Because
so
there's some friends you probably could live with if you had to, I mean.
Yeah.
Like some of my female friends, if we had to just be in a house together for a couple months,
Yeah.
I could
Yeah.
manage with them. We're friends. But when it comes to your spouse, I've heard someone say, marry the person you can't live without. That one person that you're like, man, my life is just not going to be good without them.
I love that.
So.
I love that. That's 4. That's a bonus. That's a bonus. That's so good. All right. We got to cut it off.
Yeah.
Because that will take us down another road. But this has...
I was going to say, don't forget to like, comment, and subscribe.
Let's go. Please like, comment, subscribe. This has been Breakfast with Mark and Jen, and we will catch y'all next